Welcome back to Houseless Reactions, where we're always here to have a good time. Yeah! Today, we have another video from the React channel. We are going to be checking out Red and Kitty from that 70s show playing Name That Decade.
90s.
90s!
I mean, he gives you clues. I earned every one of my points.
This is on film, you know.
I wonder who won.
Joe.
And we're from that 90s show
On Netflix.
I rather think of you guys from that 70s show. It was a better show. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And we're playing Guess the Decade. And today, we're playing
Guess the Decade
on the React show.
Nice. 70s, 80s, and 90s. This should be a blast right here.
Over one another.
No, at least a hat. 90s.
80s.
70s.
Both wrong. 70s.
Oh.
Wow, they had phones in the 70s? I remember that brick phone from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and that was in the 90s.
Nintendo Entertainment System.
80s.
Nintendo is the 80s.
The Nintendo.
Oh, okay, I'm losing already.
Everything I need's in my new chopper portfolio.
That was in the 70s.
70s.
Correct!
Now, what is a Trapper
We
Keeper?
don't know.
It is a school bike.
It's basically a school folder. That's all a Trapper Keeper is. The 90s. I remember the Macarena.
90s.
Correct!
Happy holidays.
The 80s.
Yes! Got it.
I'm not a cartoony person.
Oh, Donna.
That was in the 90s, even though it was that 70s show.
Oh, 80s.
Oh,
How do you get your own show wrong?
70s.
no, he can't do two. He can't do two.
No.
70s.
Deborah.
70s.
Deborah steals it.
It might be that 70s show, but it came out in the 90s.
Deborah and I was ready to answer.
This is my George Foreman family-sized grill.
The 90s.
80s.
90s.
Yes!
Air Jordan.
The 90s. Or no, 80s.
Oh.
I'm gonna say 70s.
Jordan came out in the 80s. 80s.
I can't do this. I'm not playing.
80s.
Yes!
I'm not playing.
The 80s.
Original
70s.
cartoon.
Incorrect.
See, there's nothing from the
I remember the Ninja Turtles from the 80s.
80s. 80s.
or 90s. I'll say 80s.
Correct! Sherwood. Humans land the first robot on Mars.
Oh, for God's sake.
In the 70s.
Correct!
Oh,
Oops.
there was one.
I'm doing a lot better at this than I did the 90s nostalgia.
Is there an,
Huh?
is there
None of
an
this Al Gore
ancient
business. Huh?
internet?
Well, there's the internet that the military employed, and then there's what we would consider.
The modern internet is the old military internet. Or maybe that was GPS, I'm not exactly sure.
No, I don't. I have three.
And two of them were cheating.
No, they were not.
What's the score?
6-4 in favor of
6
Kurt.
to 4.
I don't even remember four. I think he's helping
Well, I
me.
think you
he
gave
feels
her
bad for
2.
me.
The 90s. Have you guys ever played Bop It? Comment below.
80s.
Incorrect.
90s.
No. No.
I think the first person to answer it right gets the point. She gets a point.
Hey, what are those things anyway? They're footballs.
70s. You could tell by the way it looks.
Yeah, that one.
You did not.
Yeah, I did.
No, you did not.
That was in the 90s. I remember seeing that on Nickelodeon.
70s.
80s.
90s.
80s it is!
Wow, it was the 80s? I remember seeing it in the 90s all the time.
The mysteries of gravity. But could he have unraveled?
The 70s. You could tell by the quality of the commercial.
Oh,
Yeah.
we're doing a thing? Okay. Rubik's Cube
70s.
70s is correct. I think Kurtwood was a little quicker.
No,
think
he
he
was just
was.
louder.
It was.
No.
That's the rules.
Well, if it isn't Tamagotchi.
This was in the 90s, I'm pretty sure. A lot of this stuff was my childhood.
Remember this because I had this in a line.
80s.
70s. 90s.
Older.
90s.
You gotta be faster, Red.
Driveway before I trade it in.
Now, this has to be the 90s because the show came out in 99.
90s.
Yes!
1998. More specific.
Oh, give her a specific point.
Thank you.
Wow, she got it in there, and I was wrong. It was 98, not 99.
Cheating by the host. Boo.
Ooh, my little hungry one. Hungry one.
I would say the 80s, right?
70s.
Correct. Deb.
I was wrong.
Fans here?
No, but I just have known of him for a very long time.
Did you lock up?
What else could we be forgetting?
80s,
90s.
90s,
70s.
Oh.
90s.
Oh, 90s.
90s.
90s. I
See,
did.
but, no, but
Red got that point. Kurtwood got the point.
You
my
said
turn.
70s and I said 90s.
Michael, don't tell our private conversation to the people, Michael. We have to go.
She was born in the 80s.
Oh no.
Sweet 16. I went to her Sweet 16 party.
80s.
Correct.
He got the answer from her. She should have answered.
High C ecto cool.
The 90s. High C was big in the 90s.
Incorrect.
70s.
80s.
You know, can I just say to you, thank you so much for this. This breaks up the date. This is great.
I'm
so
hoping.
thank you.
Ass kisser.
Wow, she gets a point for kissing ass.
Because they're bursting with juicy fruit punch.
I'm gonna say the 90s. A lot of this stuff was in my childhood,
70s.
Oh, wrong.
but I've gotten it wrong.
Ooh.
90s. Okay. I got
Fruit gushers.
Yeah, 90s.
And the
1990s.
90s. Oh, like you knew.
I'm gonna say the 70s for Roxanne.
Uh-oh. 80s.
Incorrect.
90s.
No. other
70s.
way.
70s.
I said it first. Said it first. I told
I don't know. Who do you guys think won? Comment below.
All you need to play is a brain, a deck, and a friend.
Oh, it's a card?
It was the 90s. I remember Magic.
90s.
Correct.
Blockbuster was in the 80s when VHSs got big.
80s.
Correct, my friend.
This is 70s or 80s. I'm not sure which.
It's the Walkman all the 70s.
Correct. 19.
Get it, kitty. Get it, kitty.
Yammering, and I should have been raising my
Just
hand.
yeah.
I want to say the 90s, but it might be the 80s.
80s.
Oh, Kurtwood comes in with a little bit of a quicker answer. But you both got it. I can tell you were both huge fans.
Hey, what's happening?
This is the 80s or the 90s.
I'm going to say 80s. 70s.
70s.
Kurtwood with the 70s point.
Wow, I was way off there.
80s.
80s it is, sir.
Oh, I didn't know that one whatsoever.
Well, they debuted in the 80s, and then they
Became
had a long
popular
life.
in the 90s.
That's my problem. A lot of this stuff came out in the 70s and 80s, and I thought it was my childhood in the 90s because it was still around. Furby, that has to be the 90s. Come on. My childhood.
90s.
90s.
I don't like cops.
That was in the 80s. Come on, Kurtwood. That was your role. You should know this.
80s.
They kind of gave him a freebie there.
Very unfair question. Because I think you had an
Wait,
advantage.
you went to the movies too.
You-
He did have an advantage there.
Went to Blockbuster.
I
It was
did.
there.
This is the 90s. Super Nintendo, the 90s.
I don't know. I'm going to say 80s.
This is the Super Nintendo. So Nintendo was 80s. This is the Super
90s.
90s.
She looks so upset with that.
Clues and
I know,
everything.
I know.
This is not
This
right.
time.
This is
but
not
he
right.
gave you 3 points.
No, he
I
did not.
Yeah, he
Here's
did.
3 points.
He did not.
Sure he
I
did.
earned every one of my.
That's messed up. He gave him 3 more points.
I'm going to say
90s.
90s.
90s it is. Kurtwood sneaks in with the point.
Yeah, see, because he gives it to you.
On January 24th.
I'm pretty sure the first Macintosh was in the 80s.
70s. No.
70s is correct.
Dang, I was wrong again. I was doing good at the beginning of this video.
It wouldn't have counted.
You said no. Why don't you
Let's
two
give,
just play this game?
Let's give-
Oh.
Let's give Deborah a pity point. All right. one
Thank
Dang, she's gotten like 5 free points now. Stop cheating, kitty.
You know, and you would be proud
go.
of getting a pity point.
The object of Settlers of Catan is to build roads and settlements. To do so requires wood. Now, I have sheep. I need wood.
say
90s.
Okay. 90s is correct.
That one kind of just confused me. I don't know why that was in there.
playing it? Did you have a good time?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
We're very
I did.
grateful to you.
Did you learn anything today?
No, I did not learn one thing.
I've already
Well,
forgotten. but
I learned that
several.
he cheats.
I don't know, Deborah, Kitty. You got 5 free points. I kind of think you're the one cheating right now.
No, I don't care. I don't care.
Kerwin is the winner today.
Good job, Red.
Despite pity.
Way to show them dumbasses.
I tried to.
Well, you can give me the hat.
What hat?
There's a
The hat I
prize.
won?
Well, I have to make a shopping list.
All right, guys. So that was Red and Kitty from That 70's Show play Name the Decade. Or I'm sorry, from That 90's Show. I enjoyed today's video. I always enjoyed That 70's Show. I kind of like That 90's Show, but That 70's Show, I love that to death. So to see these two characters play this game today was a whole lot of fun for me. If you'd like to see more videos like this, hit the subscribe button so you'll be up to date with all my great videos. I want to thank you guys for joining me today on Houseless Reactions, and I'll see you guys next time. All right, guys. Bye!